Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. So today I want to talk about a question I ask myself sometimes and a lot of you have asked as well. Today I want to talk about my experience being here long term. And am I here because I want to be, or am I here because I have screwed myself so bad back home that I can't go back home? So before I moved to Southeast Asia, I was back in America and everything was fine. I had a really good high paid job. I was an engineer. I had a nice house. I was watching over for my family while they were out in Alaska, I believe. So we had a nice 3-bedroom house. I had a girlfriend at the time that had a daughter. So it was kind of like a stepdaughter thing. Everything was perfect. I mean, we even had a fence. And on top of that, I had investments through my 401ks, my ROIs, I had my real estate investments in St. Louis. Everything was good. So why did I leave and go to Southeast Asia? This comes down to two main reasons why. One, I started to feel robotic. As an engineer, I worked in chemicals and I worked in computer science and development and AI. And I started realizing I was kind of an AI. Like I was just waking up doing the same ABC, going back home ABC, and that was it. And it didn't help that I drank every night. And I was starting to see what was happening in the world. We used to have this joke back in university where our professor used to tell us, you're going to program yourself out of a job, slow down. I started to see that. We were literally developing systems to build microprocessing chips on their own. Chips were making chips. And I started thinking like, what's going to happen in 20 years? What am I going to do? Am I going to live the same life? This is why I made a decision. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to go to Southeast Asia. And I came out here during the holidays of like 2014. When I returned, I started to realize like there is more to life. And that's why I made that decision. And that's why I sold everything and left. It came out here to Asia. But the question today isn't how or why I came out here. It's was it worth it? So let's talk about the whole problems that most expats run into. You're typically dealing with battling debt, cost of living, your work and personal life balance just doesn't balance. Your free time is literally at the office on break time. And this really leaves us to a point where we don't have free time to really do anything on our own. You know, you can have your occasional barbecues on the weekend, you go camping during the winter, you can go to a baseball game during the summer, sure. You have your little here's and there's, but that's what they are, here's and there's. A lot of my friends back in America, they're engineers like myself. They were business professionals. They're real estate investors I worked with. And they were so over their head in debt that they could never get out. And I'm talking people that were making 6-7 figures a year. They were making more money than a lot of people could imaginably make in a decade. And they couldn't maintain a basic life. So this is one of the biggest reasons I see expats coming out here. It is not because they can't get a girlfriend back home. It is not because they're lazy and they fell back home. It's just that it's that true financial debt to ratio, that work and freedom balance that a lot of expats can experience back home. And then when we do finally make that jump, this is where the problems really kind of kick in. And this could be like the culture shocks. This is the loneliness, and I think the loneliness is a big one. So you start meeting a lot of like short-term friends rather, where they are just tourists themselves, or they're teachers that end up quitting their teaching jobs within a relatively short time. So you don't have that long-term friendship. When I grew up, I had really good friends like Dusty, Jimmy, and I've known them for decades. I will never have that similar experience. It's just not part of the culture. And then the final one that really hits a lot of people, and you see a lot of YouTube videos of people after 5 years having to go back to the West, having to fly back home from Thailand, from Vietnam, is the financial stability. A lot of people come out here typically from good positions. Like I rarely meet losers. I would say like 95% of them are not. They're not failures. They're not trying to find a 12-year-old girlfriend. They're not doing this stuff. This is not the mass majorities. It's typically a financial reason where they had enough money, but they didn't really make enough money. So it is very important for you guys to create a 3-year plan. I talk about this all the time. And have some kind of financial plans and set. This could be a 401k. This could be an ROI, which I strongly recommend over 401k. If you have some kind of a stock dividend program. So make that financial decision, but also make sure you have enough to cover you and a plan where you're going to generate that money to bring it along the way. Because you cannot come out to Asia with $10,000 and be like, well, I'll figure it out or I'll be a teacher. Most people get burnt out. After like 3 to 5, 6 years, they're done. It's such a horrible job after a while because you start realizing the blatantness of it, the corruption of it, the nonsense of it, the staff, the counterpart local Thai, Vietnamese, Cambodian staff treating you like garbage. Education, English in Southeast Asia is about retention. It's not about education. Understand that. The next big thing is the culture reality check of moving to Southeast Asia. When I first came here, I had this idea of like what Asia was because I grew up in a Vietnamese, a Chinese, and to a small extent a Hmong community growing up most of my life. It was very normal to see a live chicken thrown into boiling hot water while the auntie's picking the feathers off. I was used to that kind of stuff. But when I did come out here, I started to realize that is way different than what I expected. To the point where when I was talking to my Vietnamese friends back home in Orange County, in Portland, they were surprised. Like, holy shit, they do that? I thought that was a joke, right? So the culture stock out here is definitely a lot different than what people think. You have to accept and adapt to it. You don't need to change it. You will not change it. I meet a lot of expats, and I was even victim to this my first couple years out here, is don't try to change the culture. The way somebody acts out here in Asia is not because they want to. It's because that's how they're taught by their grandmothers and their parents and the schools and the government programs. All of this stuff is compounded. Meaning, if you go around saying, "Hey, picking your nose in public and putting your feet on tables," is considered rude. They're gonna look at you like, "What are you talking about, bro?" I meet so many Vietnamese that are like they're obsessed with Western life and they try to clean up the trash. They try to be good people. After a couple beers, they're peeing on everything and throwing trash everywhere. This isn't a shot at them. It's just at the end of the day, the culture. So definitely do not come out here trying to change the culture. Do not criticize the culture and do not insult the culture. We've talked about this on live streams and during the members groups where people have come out here in the last like 10, 15 years insulting government officials, government politicians, government level historical facts, and they get deported publicly. It's very ugly. So when you come out here with this culture, understand it's different than what you're used to. Don't try to change it. Learn to adapt with it and kind of mold your own beliefs into those beliefs. Because as a foreigner, you're not going to be expected or accepted to act the way local people here act. Even though they do it, you're a foreigner. You're not looked at the same. So keep that in mind when it comes to the culture. You cannot change it. Don't attempt to change it. Accept it what it is and become part of it and mold with it, or you will not last here. Now, the biggest improvements I've made in my life, when I moved to Vietnam, I started drinking heavily. A $5 beer was now 50 cents. So you can see where the magnitude of addiction could just explode. When I quit drinking, I stopped smoking. And when I started focusing on my health, getting off these carbs, going more on a keto, jump roping, push-ups, stuff like that, my life changed. Who I am today is 100% better who I was 11, 12 years ago. So when you do come out here, don't get mixed up in the bad decisions. When I quit drinking, I was actually in Vietnam, which is a very hard spot to quit drinking because it is a cultural thing. And as we talk about culture, you can't really fight it. So when you go out with your Vietnamese friends, your Thai friends, and you say, "I don't want to drink," they think you're mentally broken. So that decision itself was a hard one to do, but it was definitely worth it. So if you do come out here, my advice on this is don't get caught up in the sauce. Don't get caught up in the bad groups. Don't get caught up in the wrong situations. And don't let your addictions, vices, or anything like that take over to the point where you are no longer who you are. And this leads to where a lot of people end up leaving after 5 or 6 years. They were too in the sauce to actually figure out what's going on. They're obsessed with the girls, they're obsessed with the party and stuff like that. This is a good time to explore your hobbies and make opportunities financially and monetize them. So when you do come out here, again, get off the addictions. Like really try to step back and figure that out. The first couple of years, sure, go at it, go crazy, get drunk, smoke away, enjoy the clubs, enjoy the parties in all these countries. Have fun. Seriously, have fun. You probably deserve it, right? But don't let it become the way of your life. I want to go back to an old phrase a military lieutenant used to tell me back in the day. The worst job you could ever do is nothing. So get back to work. This is something I never truly understood in the military because we always try to like get away with not working. When I came out to Asia, I could, with no regrets, no second thoughts, no concerns, do nothing for weeks at a time. Just literally just lay in my bed and do nothing. And there was no consequences. Rent was going to get paid still. I was still going to eat. I realized within a few months that that is the worst thing you can do. Doing nothing is so depressing. And it also leads to a very dead-end road where, again, 5 years down the road, you got to go back to your country because you don't have anything to show for it and you can't afford it no more, right? Even though it's cheap as hell out here, you just can't afford it. Make sure you are doing something. Have that 3-year plan. When I come out here, I've opened, I want to say like 6 or 7 online companies. I've opened 3 physical companies. 2 of them actually had buildings. And I've sold 2 of the physical. I still have one that's now online, and I think 6 of the online ones just didn't work out. 2 of them did. So keep doing something. Don't get, again, caught up in the sauce. Take advantage of this time. This is a time where you could actually explore your hobbies of like knitting or whatever your hobby might be, and find a way to get very good at it and monetize it and teach other people that are ultra busy in the West how to do what you do with all that free time you got. I meet a lot of YouTubers out here where they make these like self-help programs. Like they sit down for months and write down how to do whatever their niche is, and they create these programs and sell them. That's an awesome idea. He spent his time doing what he loved to do. He had time. Make the best use of your time. And this really goes hand in hand when you start getting rid of your vices. Quit drinking, quit smoking, because your mind becomes a lot more focused. So in the overall scheme of this video, was it worth it? Did it improve me? Yes, 100%. If I didn't leave America, I think I'd probably be making a lot more money. I'd probably be somewhere in the very high level of the company I was working at. I'd probably own more real estate, but I wouldn't be happy. And I would still be waking up every day at 5:30, going out for my hour run, recovery from a hangover, and just not happy, feeling like I'm in a dead end. So this was definitely the best decision I think I've ever made in my life when it comes to, just moving from one spot of my life to another, opening a new chapter. It happened that way because I had a plan, and I didn't get caught up in the sauce, and I didn't decide to just take advantage of doing nothing without being penalized for a long time. I actually did something. Have a plan. Do something. Don't just be lazy. And if you do have a drinking problem, like I did, and I'm confident to say this, and I'm proud to say this, over time, you need to learn to let that go. Make the best use of your time. Have a 3-year plan and really push through it. You can do this, and you got this. And Asia is the best thing you can do right now in this new 2025 era where things are really going downhill. Economics are in question. Governments are going crazy. This is a good time to really find out who you are, what you can do, and start monetizing and pushing it, and finally just waking up feeling good about yourself. So before we get out of this video, let me give you a quick checklist of what you should be looking for. Number 1, be prepared and know that burnout is real. If you plan on teaching English, don't think it's gonna last forever. Have a backup plan. Have a 3-year plan. Number 2, know some of the basic language. I've always said this in these videos. Learn how to talk in a market. Learn that lingo. You'll be good to go. Number 3, accept the culture differences. You will not change anything. You will not stop Thai people and Vietnamese people from throwing trash all over the place and honking all the time. You just won't change it. You are the guest. You don't go to your friend's house and try to rearrange your furniture. It doesn't work. So don't come here trying to do the same. Number 4, create that 3-year plan. I've done videos about this. If you're in my members group, I help you directly on this. Have a 3-year plan. If you do not have a 3-year plan, I am confident that you will fail. Have a plan. It is not a hard thing to do. Number 5, take a month off from your drinking, your smoking, and your just overall bad decisions in life while you're out here. See how your life actually kind of feels. A lot of people, though, do feel recovery after about 6 weeks, so maybe you need to go longer than the actual 1 month. But take a break from your vices and your addictions and see what's going on. Reevaluate your life while you're out here. Are you on a plan, or are you just winging it? You don't want to be just winging it 5 years out here. Number 6, understand the visa process. A lot of these countries only allow you to stay in their countries for 6 months as a tourist. Sure, you can get a business visa after that 6 months, but understand what they are. You have to do visa runs in Asia. This is something we don't do in the West. A Mexican in America on a visa doesn't have to do a border run through Mexico back to America to renew. They just go to immigration. Asia is very different. You have to leave countries and go back to them and pay fees and go through processes. Make sure you understand what they are and understand limitations and restrictions for you coming here. If you're selling your entire life to come out to Vietnam and just live on tourist visas, you're going to be disappointed. Number 8, go outside, make friends. A lot of expats out here only talk to expats out here. Of course, you want to have expat friends. It gives you that homey vibe. I get it. But make friends with the local community, the people at the market. Don't rely on just being with expats your entire life here. Number 8, take care of your health. Drinking, smoking, healthy food, exercise. Learn these things in your life and how you're using them. Get rid of some, add some. Personally, myself, quit drinking, quit smoking. I was pretty much on keto, which is an impossible thing to do, it seems, in places like Vietnam and Thailand, but I did it. I jump rope 30 to 60 minutes a day. So take care of your health. And finally, most jobs in Southeast Asia, especially with teaching, are going to be part-time in regards to Western standards. You're not going to come out here working 9 to 5. You're typically going to be working between 30 to 40, 50 hours, sometimes 100 hours a month. So you're going to have a lot of free time. Use that free time and explore your hobbies. Start finding different avenues to generate revenue and build yourself up, because you will not be a teacher forever. Teaching burnout is a real thing. Do not think it's not. Anyone that tells you otherwise is insane, and they haven't been out here long enough. You need to have backup plans. So I hope that answers the question, as if traveling abroad and coming out here was a good life decision for me. 100% it was, but it was because I had a plan and I made adjustments and I knew what to accept and what to take out of my life. So if you have any questions, let me know below. If you're a member, ask me in there and I will get direct with you guys. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. I will see you again.